So don't be nervous by a story problem. It says my room is 28 feet wide and 32 feet long. If you walk the diagonal from one corner to the other, how far did you walk? So when in doubt, draw a picture. Okay, so I'm going to draw this picture. I've got my room here. It's 28 feet wide and it's 32 feet long. I want to walk the diagonal. So what does that mean here? Go across. I'm going to walk in the door over here. I'm going to go to that deep corner over there. Okay, so across my room. I drew my picture. What shape did I just draw? It's a triangle. You've got a triangle built right here. 1, 2, 3. I've got two sides. I'm solving for the third one, so I'm looking for this side over here. What formula are we going to use to find the missing side? Pythagorean theorem. You need to make sure you know it. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. So for me, it's going to be 28 squared plus 32 squared equals c squared. Those numbers are too big for me, so I'm going to use my calculator to help me figure that out. 28 squared plus 32 squared gets me that. Is it 1,800 feet to get from one side of my room to the other? No, that's a stupid answer. Okay, so obviously use your brain and realize that is not my answer. What do I need to do with that 1,808? Square root it. That's what is equal to c squared. So to get c by itself, we square root both sides. So again, in my calculator, second square root 1808, 42.5 feet. That makes sense. My room is 42.5 feet across, not 1,808. Okay, that's great, but sometimes I might ask for something different. That's in a decimal form. Okay, let's say on the test I ask for radical. Okay, a simplified radical. So remember what that means. You're taking the square root of 1808 and you're breaking it down. Okay, I will help you out. 16 and 113, 4 and 4, 2 and 2, 2 and 2. Rewrite that thing as a simplified radical. Now that I've split it up for you on your BELLWORK, write it as a simplified radical. Go. We are doing just some different reviews on our whiteboard. So I'm putting a problem on the front. You're trying it on your paper, on your whiteboard, and see what we can do. Okay, for the first one, it says find the distance between the pair of points. They give you two ordered pairs. The thing we struggled with the most on our review is reading directions. If it says find the distance, which formula are we going to use here? Hey, look at that. We knew. Distance formula. Okay, remember your formula sheet is going to look like this. You got to know which one of those formulas is distance formula. Perhaps the one that starts with a D. Do that right now, please. Okay, so be careful as we plug in. So if we're doing distance formula, it's x sub 2, negative 1, minus x sub 1, negative 3, squared. What happens when I minus a negative? Plus y sub 2 minus y sub 1 minus a negative. So it becomes plus negative 1 plus 3 is 2 squared, plus negative 3 plus 1 is negative 2 squared. When I take a negative 2 and I square it, it gets me positive 4. 4 plus 4 is 8. Square root of 8 is not one of my answers. So that means I must have had to simplify it as I look at those answers. So we take 8 and we break it down into 2 and 4, and 4 breaks down into 2 and 2. I have a pair of 2s, so that goes on the outside. That 2's left over. 2 goes back underneath. My answer is D, 2 radical 2. Questions on the first one? Those are the endpoints. That's a midpoint. I'm going to show you with a graph first to show you how easy this one is with a graph. 7, negative 2. 7, negative 2. That's an endpoint. Okay, that's on the end. There's a midpoint at 7, 7. That's the middle point. If that's the end point and that's the midpoint, where's the other end point going to be? Up, down, left, or right? Up, because I'm going to go from the end point through the midpoint and up. Okay? What is the x value of my other point got to be then? 7, because I'm going straight up, so it's not C, because that has a 10 in it. Okay? It is somewhere north, somewhere above this y value of 7. So it has to be above 7 for my y value. So it's not negative 11, and it's not 7 and 2 1/2. Okay, if you got 2 1/2 there in the middle, it's because you found the middle of that. We don't need that. My answer is B. Done. Here's why. Because to go from here to there, you have to add 9. Okay, that's to go from negative 2 to 7, you got to add 9. So from then at 7, you got to add 9 more. So that would get you up to 16. Okay, let's do it the algebraic way, because not very many people are using the graphs. The graphs are good, though. To do it the other way, it says the x, we're using these formulas. The x of the midpoint is equal to that. The y of the midpoint is equal to that. This 7 right here, is that going into my x or my y formula? The x, what's it going in for? Is it going for the midpoint, the x1 or x2? x1, so 7 plus something divided by 2. This negative 2 goes into my y formula. It's going in for y1. This is the midpoint. So this 7 right here of the midpoint is going in for the midpoint. It's going right there. This is what I'm looking for. I'm sorry, that's an x. That is what I'm looking for. Over here, this 7 right here is going in for the midpoint of my y. So it's going to be equal to 7. This is what I'm looking for. Multiply both sides by 2. 2 times 7 is 14, equals 7 plus x, minus 7, 7 equals x. Hey, look what we said. Multiply this one, both sides by 2. 14 equals negative 2 plus y. Add 2, 16 equals y. If you know where they plug in, the math problem is easy. We're just struggling as to where they plug in as we go. Questions on finding an endpoint? You are finding the slope of the line that is perpendicular to those 2 points. You have 2 points here. You're trying to find a slope. Which one of these formulas up here are we going to use to find the slope? That one, the slope one, y sub 2 minus y sub 1. Do it. I'm labeling and I'm plugging into my formula. So y sub 2 is negative 18 minus y sub 1, which is negative 8. On bottom, it's x sub 2. So 5 minus x sub 1, so negative 3. Since I'm minusing a negative, we're really adding. Negative 18 plus 8 is negative 10. And 5 plus 3 is 8. What do I need to do with that, though? Can I simplify it? Yeah, so simplify. Negative 5 over 4. So my answer is C. Nuh-uh. It is not C. That was a lie. Why is it not C? I'm a mean person. It's not C. It's perpendicular. So this is what happens when you do tests. Okay? You're going to do the problem, and you're going to be like, find the slope. Okay, cool. I'm finding the slope. Oh, I reduced it. Good for me. I got negative 5 fourths. Boom. But don't forget what the problem said. It said the perpendicular to that. So if it says negative 5 fourths, I got to do perpendicular. What do I need to do with a fraction to make it perpendicular? Flip it, change the sign. So what's my actual answer? That's your real answer. Be careful. Don't make a silly answer. Number 4 says write the slope-intercept form of the equation of the line. Okay? Write the slope-intercept form of the equation of the line. You don't need a formula for this. Okay? All day kids are like, I need that formula. There's no formula. Okay? To get an equation into slope-intercept form, what do we need to do with it? Good job. Get y by itself. Do that now. Get y by itself. Trying to get y by itself. So, Destiny, what'd you do first? Good. Subtract 2x. So she's got negative 3y equals negative 2x minus 4. Then what? Divide by negative 3. Okay? The one thing we normally forget is we forget to divide by negative 3. This cancels. We just say divide by 3 instead of negative 3. Okay? Look at your answers. It's obviously not A. It's obviously not D. It is either B or C. Which one is it going to be? B. Okay? What's the only difference between B and C is this one's negative and this one's positive. How do we know it's going to be positive? Two negatives here. You have two negatives on top of each other. That's going to give you positive. Be careful. Again, that's a place where you could do it all right. You'd be like, I know how to do that problem. But if you pick the wrong answer in the end, it's all the way wrong. So you need to make sure you're working at a pace and double checking for silly mistakes like that. Number 5. This is the most important question on the test. If there's only one thing that you need to know how to do for tomorrow, if you said, I'm going into this test and I only know one thing, it needs to be this thing. Okay, because it's going to be worth a lot of points, and it's very important into what we do. Write the equation of the line. It says up there. Write the slope-intercept form of the equation of the line through those 2 points. Okay, we're writing an equation of a line through those 2 points. We need some formula. Okay, so looking at those formulas up there, if we're writing the equation of a line, show me with your fingers which formula are we going to use. Show me with your fingers. I'm seeing 2 first, okay? I agree with some of what we're saying. I see 2 first. When it says write the equation of a line, you know you are using this formula. What is that formula called? That is called point slope formula, okay? That is called point slope formula. You need to know that because it allows you to remember what you need. That's point slope formula. It looks just like that. We need a point, which we have. I'm going to pick this one because it's easy. So y minus 2 and x minus negative 2. Okay, but we also need this, which is slope. How can I find slope? Number 5, that's your slope formula. Go. These multiple choice answers. If I were this nice and gave you these multiple choice answers, super simple problem. Okay, we're doing point slope. We need to find the slope. So it's y sub 2, so 2 minus y sub 1, so negative 4 minus a negative. Negative 2 minus negative 5, so it's minus a negative. 2 plus 4 is 6. Negative 2 plus 5 is 3. 6 over 3 gets you what? 2. My slope is 2. Even without doing anything else, I know that my answer is C. Why? That one's got a slope of 6. That one's got a slope of negative 4. That one's got a slope of 5. It's got to be C. Remember how to do that, though, just in case. Once we find the slope, we plug that into here. We distribute. Remember, if it's a fraction, we would distribute the bottom number this way. But that's not a thing here. So it's going to be y minus 2 equals 2x plus 4. Add 2. Y equals 2x plus 6, just like we got right there. Important problem. That's one you need to know. Yep. Because x, I didn't. I plugged in negative 2. It was minus a negative 2 for my x sub 2. Remember, you can pick either point. I could have picked negative 5, 4. I picked negative 2, 2 because they were easier numbers. Okay? Last one. Okay? One more here. We're writing the equation of a circle. This would be another problem that's worth a lot of points. Not only do you have to put it in standard form, okay, but this problem would say something like, put it in standard form. What's the center? What's the radius? Graph it. Okay, that's 4 separate questions from one problem. You need to make sure you know how to do this. You got to put it in standard form. You got to be able to tell me what the center and the radius is, and then be able to graph it. Okay, follow through your steps. Organize it, fill in the blanks, make it pretty. All right, we are running out of time, so I'm going to go a little bit quicker here. I'm filling in my blanks next. So if I'm filling in my blanks, Jordani, what am I going to do to fill in this blank right here? Half of 8 and square it. Good. So half of 8 is 4. 4 squared is 16. So he's throwing a 16 in there and a 16 in there. So Dylan, what am I going to put in the other blank? 9. Half of 6 is 3. 3 squared is 9. Once we've done that, now we're making it pretty. So we're doing this. X something squared plus Y something squared equals this added together. Make sure you made it negative 16. Those two things cancel because it's negative and a positive. Equals 9. To fill in next to my x, what's going to go next to my x here? Ron, what's going to go with my x there? Good. He took that 8 and cut it in half, and he kept the sign the same when he's doing that. So with this one, he's going to get a 3 because he's cutting half of 6 to get 3. Good. That's the equation. So my answer to this problem is B, But again, know that we're going to go further than that. If I told you now to graph it, okay, Zion, what would the center of my circle be? Yes, -4, -3. He took his x and changed the sign, and took his y and changed the sign. So -4, -3 would be our first dot. Then we want to find the radius. What do we need to do to find our radius? Got to square root it. So my radius is what then? 3. So I'm going to go from that center dot 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Done. We did not